Welcome back to BYoungMinistry.com, to another blog and to another podcast. Welcome to those who access the podcast through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Rumble, and YouTube. Today we continue our study of the book of Genesis. We're in chapter 8, verses 1 through 5, which reads, "Then God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the animals that were with him on the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were also stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained, and the waters receded continually from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the waters decreased. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen." That's Genesis chapter 8, verses 1 through 5. Today we continue our study of Genesis, where we are being given an overall view of the story of man with God. In giving us this story, God is highlighting his faithfulness to us. Since Noah had faith in the God of the Bible, God did not disappoint him. We have seen through Noah that true faith in the God of the Bible is not in a hurry. True faith waits on the faithfulness of God. Incidentally, the number 8 in the Bible is the number of new beginnings, thus the number of the people on the ark. In verse 1 of today's passage, we read, "Then God remembered Noah, and every living thing and all the animals that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided." I can only imagine what a whirlwind Noah felt while he was on that ark. I'm sure that when he first heard God tell him to build the ark, Noah was like, "This can't be real." And as the days marched on, I am sure that Noah wondered about the veracity of this call that God had given him. In addition, I'm sure that Noah wondered, after being on the ark for all of those days, that if God was aware of him. We are told by Moses that God remembered Noah, which means God never relinquished the promise that he had made to him. The Hebrew word translated remember is used a total of 73 times in Scripture. For Noah, the impossible happened, and hundreds of thousands of humans and animals died. They all died because of the rebellion of man against God. God remembered Noah by making a wind dry off the earth. It was highly probable that before the flood, there was no wind due to the vapor canopy that surrounded the earth. Then, before the flood, a whole different hydrology existed. But when the canopy was removed, typical evaporation and the jet streams came into being. The word for wind in the Hebrew is exactly the same word used in Genesis chapter 1 and verse 2 for God's Spirit. There we read, "The Spirit of God hovered over the waters." Spirit and wind in Hebrew are the same word. In verses 2 and 3 of today's passage we read, "The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were also stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained, and the waters receded continually from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the waters decreased." No doubt the surface of the earth was greatly changed after the flood. In fact, This was when the Grand Canyon was formed, as it is today. It wasn't until the flood that the high mountains that we have today were formed. This was due to the breakup of the earth in the subsequent continental drift. It was at that time that the huge basins in the ocean were formed. In verses 4 and 5 of today's passage, we read, "Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen." On the 17th day, the ark rested there. Interestingly, it was on the same day that the Lord Jesus came out of the grave, almost 2,400 years later. The Bible uses two calendars, the creation calendar and the redemption calendar. Until the time of the Exodus, the calendar started in the fall. But at the Exodus, the first month was changed to the spring. The 17th day of the 7th month in the creation calendar is the 17th day of the first month of the redemption calendar. The Passover occurs on the 14th day of the first month, and the resurrection happened, according to the Bible, on the Sunday after the Passover, the 17th day of the first month. Most interestingly, Ararat means the curse is reversed. On the same day that the ark struck ground, the waters began to subside. The curse of the waters was now being reversed at the exact same moment that Noah was brought to the safety of the land. Noah and his ark are a picture of the true reversal of the curse, which began at the fall of man in Genesis chapter 3. Only 5 chapters after the fall, Noah was given a sign of what was to come. The rain lasted 40 days. The waters stayed on the earth 150 days. It took another 150 days for the waters to abate. And then Noah waited another 40 days before he opened the window. Often in life, troubles come on fast and recede slowly. Our calling is to be faithful, to persevere in the faith, to hold on to the faithful object of our faith. The waters didn't cover the earth forever. The ark shows that salvation is by faith through grace. Grace means that God saves us apart from any effort of our own. God's grace began something new on that 17th day when Noah and his family were saved. What started off as an insignificant date has become a whisper of God's grace. This 17th, in reality, was the first in a series of clues that God gave throughout the Old Testament, which all points us to the greatest display of all, the resurrection of His dear Son. My friends, I trust this blog and this podcast are helping you in your walk with the Lord. If I can be of further assistance to you, shoot me an email at BYoungMinistry@gmail.com. Hey, have a great day.